Big question.
Why did the fish start to swim? That's a good to put it differently.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to, because, yeah, you need to think very long back, because at least for my part, it all began from such an early age that I almost can't remember when when that became my dream to be a professional musician and a professional singer. But I do remember at a time when I was 6 years old, when I have this very clear memory of deciding. And at that time, I was very fond of opera, and I still am. But I quickly found that Baroque music was the closest to my heart, so to speak. In my early 20s, I realized that, yeah, that was going to be my main profession and my main specialization, maybe.
For my case, I've grown up in a musical family. Actually, my mum and my dad ran a pop band back in the 70s and 80s. And eventually my father turned to sound engineering, and my mum, well, started teaching more and more. She has a love for jazz, blues, Delta blues. It's actually a quite different kind of music. I would say I never aspired to do music before I, just out of interest, out of fun, wanted to go to to the music department in my high school, in my upper secondary school, in gymnasium, and so I started singing, and quickly my singing teacher insisted that I started singing alto, as a countertenor, altus. And in a way, I was bitten by the same bug as Inger, perhaps a bit earlier, in the sense that I was introduced to all this fascinating music repertoire from the Renaissance and the Baroque. That particularly reached me, and obviously was right for my voice type. So I started out as a singer, actually. It's usually the other way around. But I'd also had piano lessons, just a few when I was in my early teenagers. And I sort of dropped it somewhat, then picked it up again. I also took organ lessons, and I went to, I think you Germans call it Heimvolksschule, Folkeskole, where there was an old rack that stood, an old harpsichord. And in a way, it wasn't love at first sight, but I so much wanted to play the keyboard repertoire as well. I thought basso continuo, generalbass, was a particularly interesting, subject, because it's, in a way, it looks, it's not so wedded to the canon, to the classical music world, where everything is sort of very learned, formalized. It invites you to improvise and to have a lot of fun and a lot of, it invites you to do a lot of things that happen just spontaneously in the moment. So it's been a very sort of curvy road, but eventually I ended up in Oslo, in the academy there, and then I transferred to Amsterdam and did most of my studies there.
I remember I think the first time we met was in Bergen, when I was studying there. So that was where I took my bachelor's degree, and Nikolai was applying that year as a singer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
but you were already playing harpsichord quite sort well. Of. And yeah, and I think we just found each other at once in this common interest of just exploring this fantastic repertoire, and all its freedom, all its possibilities, all its opportunities for personal color And so we started playing. I remember we had a session, I think for several hours. We were just jamming and playing and singing and, oh, you know, this one. Oh, never heard it. No, sight reading. Oh, it's so cool. So yeah, that was, we instantly found a common interest and a common nerdiness, and already then loved hanging out. We have been doing that on and off throughout the years, but it was only in 2019 that we decided finally to form our own ensemble, or own duo.
It's much easier when we're in the same city again, obviously.
Yes, definitely.
So, it's obviously when people mention Barockmusik, Baroque music, they often think of, you know, the heavy stuff by Bach, the cantatas, the passions. They think of Handel's justly fantastic operas.
Yeah, the big highlights.
Often, yeah, the bigger highlights, and we do that as well. It's just that we also have a particular interest for 17th century music, and of course, if you that's when it starts getting a bit exotic, at least in this part of Europe. And you can think of Monteverdi, for instance, or perhaps if you like church music, you can think of you might come to think of Schütz as well. Like they're also big names, but then the chamber music sort of is still, in a sense, gathering a bit of dust around in libraries. Luckily nowadays we find most of this stuff online, and this can be anything from, you know, music real music that really speaks of tormented love and all these, you know, the great cliches. But then you've also got this really strange, angular, eckige Musik, angular music, say from that was written but in sort of, say, the sanatoriums in London in the 17th century, which is it's as weird as it sounds. Like it's as weird, but at the same time it has something fantastically attractive about it. There's this mix of, you know, these very eerie and crazy moments, and then you suddenly have this beautiful line coming out, this tenderness, the softness. That's Purcell in this case, or say John Eccles or Matthew Locke. So really, some of this is sung sometimes, and whereas other things are completely unknown. That also adds a bit of excitement to the whole game, if you like. A déjà vu in reverse.
Yeah.
We know what a déjà vu is, that you're revisited by a memory of the past out of the sudden. But the point with a Vardøg, or a Vardøg, depends on where you're from, I guess, is that it is an omen in Norse mythology that looks ahead. Say you saw your, I don't know, so you saw your grandmother in the hallway for some reason, and the next day she's dead. That's the nasty variant. But it can also be something good. It can also be it can be a kind reminder. It can be an omen of something good happening as well. So it has an eerie connotation to it, but it also has a pleasant aura around it as well. But it's basically an omen of something which is about to happen. Or you could say it is the Nordic take on the omen. So I think it in a with its sort of bittersweet attributes, I think it's quite descriptive also of the music that we do. That you are oddly taken by surprise sometimes.
Definitely, and also that we are bringing very old stuff to life again, and in a way that almost modernizes the music, and because we want the music to be alive and to be relevant in people's lives today, and it definitely can. It has to do with how you present it and how you understand it, and of course, the way you perform and the way you to take it serious as something that can talk to humans of all times. And I really think that is our goal as performers. I was in Greifswald when I was a kid. I used to travel around with my parents in a quite primitive camping car.
A wohnmobil.
Yeah. And we traveled so much just around in Germany, always stopping when we felt like. And at the time we visited Greifswald, and so I still have happy childhood memories from the city.
Mine is a bit stranger, perhaps. Of course, I'm an historian. I'm not a historian, but I love history, and I love languages. So if you say Hanseatic, obviously I associate, I think of trade, I think of commerce, I think of exchange of ideas, of words. I mean, I know German, you know Norwegian. So you immediately see, you can immediately connect the dots. And for me, I immediately start thinking of all the seaways, going from Pomerania through Denmark, even over to the Low Countries, England, and of course up to Bergen as the end stop in the north. That's my one first association. If you say Hanseatic, my second association is actually through my mum. I've never been to northern Germany. The only eastern part of Germany I've been to is Berlin. But when I, approached the festival and asked and proposed our program, I realized that my mum had performed there some 15 years ago with a big band from northern Norway, where I come from originally. So that's my second association with Greifswald. Is actually that I'm not the first one in my family who's actually going to perform in the festival. So and of course, my third association is watching all the delightful photos and seeing all these beautiful red colored roofs. This is so typical, beautiful North Sea, East Sea architecture, which I really love. And I recognize it. Of course, it reminds me of the Netherlands, which is sort of my second home in a way after having studied there. So, yeah.